today. I've traded bourbon for Pepsi Zero.
Proud of you, Danny. Proud of you.
Thank you.
That is really good. All right, we are officially live. Welcome to Nerd Fights Week 3, and we have a special guest. We have, and I just realized that I'm not muted because I'm so pro. We have special guest co-host here with Matthew Kadish from the Salty Nerd podcast. Welcome, Matthew. Because Matthew is a huge fan of the Orville and wanted to come on and defend his beloved show here.
Well, we refuse to talk about it on our channel, so
yes,
I figured might as well come on someone else's channel and talk about it.
Yeah,
So-
I wonder if Vader would have liked this episode. I don't know. Probably
No.
not. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
he wouldn't. He just
that-
said it was boring and he wasted his time, and he'd be right.
Okay.
So
Tell us how you really feel.
the episode is titled "From Unknown Graves," and the title obviously coming from the graves of Kalon, and the from unknown graves, meaning a Kalon has arisen from those graves. That is, a different kind of Kalon, and conceptually, I think there are some interesting ideas trying to put a positive spin on some of the broader brush ideas here. That there's a Kalon that was in essence programmed with a lore style emotion chip, but unlike in the Star Trek franchise, emotions don't give androids homicidal tendencies. They seem to give them empathy. And so this Kalon, this android suddenly realizes what a horrific thing the genocide or the attempted genocide of all biological life was, and wants to attempt to convince his fellow Kalon to not continue to pursue the extinction of all biological life, and that's at the same time we meet a new alien race, which is the biological, not biological, sociological opposite of the Mocklins, where they are uber feminists and men are inferior in every way. And basically, they decide to, in order to get them as allies against the Kalon, they pretend that all men are subservient in the Union until
How did they get the admirals to agree to that? Because you're basically deceiving, like on your first contact, you're lying. That's my only gripe with this episode, because I did like it.
That's your only gripe with this episode?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll get into it.
Okay. Well, when we go blow by blow on this, I'm going to call you to question on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Take you to the woodshed, Danny.
Yeah. We're gonna have to have some words.
I got some sketches to show you after the show for our thumbnails for our fighting with the.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
but so these so they actually pretend that all the men on the ship are subservient to all the women on the ship in order to trick them into an alliance. And they're all good with that, even though this is clearly a deception. And when the deception is found out, these women are, of course, incensed by it, rightly so. But then when they find out that Kelly had an affair, they were like, oh, well, I guess then maybe we'll consider it.
Right on. So
because that makes all the sense. And then which by the way, that's the entirety of the negotiations. Oh, yeah, because she had an affair and now she's my first officer. Oh, well, then maybe we'll consider negotiations. And I was like, wait, that's it?
Well, you're bouncing around. Do we want to go to our normal format that we?
Well, yeah, we'll go to the play-by-play in a second. I just want to
All
kind of break down what the plots were in this. That's the
For sure.
and then the other big plot in this was Isaac getting an emotion chip that didn't take. There's a lot of plots in this because then of
This
course
is the longest episode of the season.
Is it? No, is it?
There's also Lamar.
Yeah, there's the Lamar. Lamar has the joke plot of which is this is the Dax Wharf plot. Lamar and Tala keep having sex, and every time they have sex, Lamar breaks a different bone, and he keeps going to sick bay, and then they decide after he spits up a bunch of teeth that they should break up. That's the entirety of that plot.
That scene is hilarious.
And then the Isaac plot is basically Isaac and Dr. Finn decide that basically Dr. Finn decides for Isaac that he should get emotions because every good man needs emotions, and so Isaac gets emotions, but because Isaac's not a good enough man, the emotions don't take, and Claire decides to go ahead and continue to date him anyway.
I feel like that's a gross oversimplification of what happened, but we'll get into it.
Well, we'll get into the play-by-play on it, and that pretty much sums up the episode. Now, I do want to make this statement about it: is that I've said in the past that Seth MacFarlane creates these simple two-dimensional characters, and I stand by that because what he did, and I think he did this masterfully in the case of Charlie, is that Charlie was a two-dimensional character from the get-go, where her two dimensions were A, she hates Isaac, and B, she's good at math. That's the two dimensions of Charlie's character. And so, but then they came dangerously close to making her a three-dimensional character by adding C, she's a lesbian. So that way, in this episode, they removed the she hates Isaac, so she's back down to two dimensions. So, so now it's just she's a lesbian and she's good at math. So now she's back to a two-dimensional character. All right, so now you have your list of plot points, Danny, and we'll take it in sequential order and let the fighting ensue.
For sure. Well, this episode opens up in a science fiction kind of old schooly kind of neighborhood with these new aliens that we learn are, I don't know, talking with the Orville, he called them biological Kalons. Someone in the chat, Thomas Potts, doesn't think that that's what they're called, but whatever. The people.
Oh yeah, I think they're absolutely the Kalons.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So the biological Kalons, they're
the Bylons.
The Bylons, their families at home waiting for dad. Dad shows up and unboxes K1. And I got a question. Do you think Timus is K1 based off of the back and forth? Yeah.
I get that. I get that distinct feeling. Yes.
Yeah, I did too, even though they didn't blatantly say it. So, and then, so we get that kind of tease intro of they don't specifically say this is in the past, but you kind of, it's not hard to figure out this is in the past. And then we do the intro and we cut straight to Lamar getting injured in the sack, which I actually thought was funny.
Okay, so
this comes back and forth about 3 times throughout the episode.
Well, let's not jump too far ahead. So we're at the credits. We just have the teaser with the Kalons, but we don't know it's the Kalons. We just know it's a family getting K1.
Yes.
And we don't even know it's K1. We just know it's a family unboxing a Kalon.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, Great opening stinger, nice and short.
Yeah. Probably the shortest one, and which is ironic because this is the longest episode. It was only like 2 minutes, the stinger.
Right. And that's a good stinger because it sets up a quick mystery. You don't know it's a flashback at this point.
Not yet, yeah.
And so you're thinking, holy crap, somebody found a Kalon and these idiots are going to activate it and it's going to cause all sorts of mayhem.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know what was going on at this point.
Right. You didn't realize that this was thousands of years ago and all that.
Which, because a little bit later, a few minutes, they say on the bridge that there's a power surge coming from the planet. And at first, I don't know about you guys, at first, I thought they were referring to the family in this
right.
K1.
Yeah. That's what I thought the first time. And then until I realized it was a flashback.
Right.
I'm sure if Court Kadish with his mass analytical brain figured it out the second they showed it that this was a flash.
Yeah. The minute that they rolled in that box, I was like, oh, this is the Kalon's origin story.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's what it was. It was just flashbacks throughout the episode showing us the rise of the robotic Kalons. And I was like, cool. That was the best part of the episode for me, was we actually got some good lore building.
I will agree it's the best part of the episode was the Kalon origin story.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff there. I don't know if it's the best part. It
was the only good part.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's fine. We can agree to disagree. So the right after
2 against 1, we're right.
Hey, that's fine. Right after that's why you brought Kadish in, so you could win.
For the record, Kadish asked to come on. I didn't bring him in.
So the after the credits, we get our first little comedic bit with Lamar and Tala, and he goes to the emergency room or to Dr. Claire, and this is where we start seeing him lie about, and apparently based off their dialogue, this is not his first time coming in for these training exercise injuries. You guys, I take it you guys didn't. I thought there was a lot more humor. This certainly had the most humor in it of the season so far, and it all worked for me. What did you guys think about this little subplot with the?
I think it
Lamar's
might
pride.
have landed better had this not been introduced in this episode. One of the problems, and this has been a problem for this series, is that. Like they kind of set up Lamar and Talia having a relationship for the last 3 episodes, but this is the first we hear that there are physical injuries involved. And so if every time they have a romantic encounter, Lamar is suffering serious physical injury, why have we not heard about it in the last 2 episodes that they've been romantically involved?
Well, I feel like
they only hooked up last episode, right? Like that was the first.
Was it just the last episode that they hooked up?
They in the last episode there was one scene where they were making out.
Oh, that's right. They were slamming up against each other in the warp core. Yeah. And quite frankly, then he should have had a crushed pelvis right then and there.
Maybe. I'm actually. I didn't find this subplot funny, at all. The only part in this episode where I laughed was when Gordon was like, maybe you should wear a helmet. And Lamar was like, saying oh, it's not fair to make fun of this. And Gordon was like, dude, I was being serious. That was the only part where I laughed. To me, this subplot was all about saying that it's okay to be in an abusive relationship if you're a man.
Right.
That's what I got from it. And Danny, I'm surprised you didn't pick up on that.
I did, and
frankly, I think it's
because it's very blatant. It's very blatant that, the kind of whole theme of this episode is that it's like men are inferior.
It's funny
to women,
if it's a guy,
and
that's
if a guy is in an abusive relationship, it's fine, right? But if you flip this, if Lamar was being played by a woman, and this was happening when she was having sex with a man, carries very different subtext, right? So to me, this was the most insulting part of this episode.
Wow.
Is saying that if you're a man and you're in an abusive relationship, it's cool to just hang in there as long as the sex is good, right? So
Huh.
I didn't like this at all. And this is just part and parcel of the overall theme of this episode, which is that women are superior to men.
Like, think about this. Think about this. Remember, I mentioned the Dax Worf thing. Imagine if we rewind to Deep Space Nine and only Dax was injured, not Worf. Because remember, Worf was injured too in their liaisons. And they talked about how this was typical in Klingon mating rituals. But imagine if, like, they kept going in and Dax was just like brutally injured, and like broken bones, and
but in
like
the future, I mean,
they kept showing, and they were showing her limping and crawling her way to sick bay, and people trying to help her hobble her way in alone down the corridor.
you know,
Would you be laughing at that?
I mean, possibly if it's done right. I don't know.
Really, you would be laughing at seeing Dax
if it's
alone
done right,
going down the corridor in pain, wincing in pain.
If it's done right, you can laugh at damn near anything. I think you know, and it's weird. And I get why Cater said what he said, because I've been in an abusive relationship, and I didn't get these vibes at all, because these were just accidental. Like, sex got too rough, and she doesn't know where, you know, she's like of mice and men type of, you know, strength type of thing. And I don't know. It didn't bother me at all. I didn't see that at all. But now that you're pointing it out, I guess I can see how someone could see that. But I thought it was like the final scene where they break up, and it's just, you know, it focuses on her face and her crying, and it comes back.
He's beat to shit, and he spits
like,
out his own teeth.
And then it comes
that was
back.
hilarious.
I thought it was funny because, first of all, you also got to understand that, like, in the future, it's really super easy it's like stubbing your toe in the future, breaking your arm. Like they fix it really easy with the little wand thingy. So I was on board for the laugh.
He looked like someone had beat the crap.
Oh, he looked like, yeah, like what did they say?
He looked like he went 9 rounds with Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson, yeah. It looked like he got his ass beat by Mike Tyson.
Right.
So okay,
well that didn't. Well, I'm just saying, in what world does that look like someone who just had a little bit of rough sex? That doesn't look like someone who had just had sex. That looked like someone who had just gotten in a fist fight.
And it's also one of those things where like Lamar is getting so brutally injured. Like after the first sex scene when he broke his arm, I'm like, they're going to have a scene where she breaks his dick off.
Oh, I was afraid of that.
And sure enough, midway through
she did crush his pelvis.
Yeah, that's what happens. Pelvis, and so basically, you know, like the subplot to me was made very clear, which is that, like, it's okay for men to be abused by women. It's just
which it's not, by the way,
around.
People. It is not. You know.
Well, but that was the message.
And nobody's saying you think that it is. We're not suggesting you think it is. But the problem is that the attitude of the show is it's funny because it's a guy.
You know, like, not to get all, like, you know, deep into, like, thought or whatever, but maybe the reason I didn't see it,
not to turn your brain on or anything like that.
Well, I'm just thinking.
And no, we're not ignoring the chat, guys, but we are having a discussion.
Maybe because, like, were you, I know we were friends during the time, but did you see me when I had the black eye from the,
Yep.
Okay. So maybe because of someone who's been through that, I view it differently. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, you know, maybe what's that effect they call, like, when you're like when you sympathize,
the Florence Nightingale effect.
No, I was thinking more of the Stockholm syndrome, where So maybe
Danny, I remember when you showed up with that shiner and you told us that your fiance or ex-fiance or whoever it was inflicted it on you, and that's why I was surprised that you didn't pick up on the subplot, because it's very obvious. Yes, they diffuse it by playing it for a joke, by playing it for a laugh, but if you look at the messaging behind it, it's very much saying that, like, it's okay for women to abuse men because the men will take it because they just want to have sex.
And now think about this, Danny. Couple that with the negotiations going on and the institutional abuse of men that goes on with their society,
we'll get to
the fact that they turn around and abuse Ed and Gordon in order to appease them.
Yeah, so we'll get to that part. So I take it. I know how you guys feel about the Lamar thing, so we don't need to bring those up in chronological order anymore in the future. I think that's the difference between being in something and trying to see it and being outside looking in. I think maybe you guys picked up on that now that you've pointed it out, especially with the theme of this episode overall.
And hey, Vader is here. You want to join the panel, Vader?
He's probably at work right now.
Yeah, I totally see it, but I think I didn't see it because I was kind of like inside looking out, I guess, in my mind.
Well, you know what it is, Danny, is you're one of those lucky people who can watch something just for entertainment and not have to see the deeper meaning in it.
Yeah.
My filmmaker brain refuses to allow me to do that most of the time.
And I think Matthew and I tend to see it kind of in the similar vein.
Yeah, and like if the first 6 episodes of the Orville had just been like seasons 1 and 2, where it was like a fun show, I probably wouldn't have cared so much. But because this season's been so preachy and so political,
I know
it makes it stand out even more.
Yeah,
as I'm watching it. Like, I really wish like I wasn't so OCD that I have to complete something that I started with watching this season, because like I'd love to walk away and just not bother with the Orville anymore. But I'm sticking with it, and this is the stuff I see. Like I think I was telling Mike before we went on the air, this is the least offensive episode I've seen this season, but it's still incredibly offensive if you really like want to dig into it.
Yeah. So. Well, they tricked me because of this next plot point is the relationship between Claire and Isaac. And so I was live tweeting this while I was watching it, because I was watching it alone because, I'm a loser. So I like to chat with people online while I'm watching it. And people were interacting with me. And like I started out with like, I hope this episode's good. And then this, somebody replied to that. And I responded with, because I got a crush on Claire. Everybody knows that. So I'm like, I can't remember what I said. I said something about like seeing Isaac. Like it's nice to see Isaac.
Yes, Mr. Garrick, this is a very ugly cat.
But I love to see Claire, something like that. And Isaac, the actor who plays Isaac, actually liked that tweet, by the way, which was funny. And then he liked another one that I tagged you two in, because I really liked this. This was my favorite part of this episode, was their story thread. So this is in the first scene with them, Isaac is trying to like, hey, are we back together? She's like, I don't know yet. And then he's all like, will you let me know? So this kind of sets up where they end up at the end of the episode. What did you guys think of this story thread?
Boring as fuck.
Yeah, see, I guess I'm just a romantic. I loved it.
I am a romantic.
I like romance just as much as the next guy, but the stuff between Claire and Isaac feels so fucking forced, and they spend so much time on it. Like, this is basically a Data emotion chip episode, right? Can we all agree on that?
Kind of. Yeah.
This is about Data getting his emotion chips and learning what it means to be human and stuff like that. But in the broader subtext, again, it's about men who are not in touch with their emotions in a relationship. And in order to please the woman they're with, they have to learn to get in touch with their feminine side and become emotional in order to please the woman that they're with.
Wow, man, you really do have that analytical brain. Shit, like
that's the broader subtext of the subplot there.
Can I take it one step further, because this is not even like beat around the bush time. This is stated explicitly in the episode, is that men need to change for their women in order to satisfy their women, and then women do not need to change for their men. And that is, in fact,
women need to demand. Women
should demand that their men change for them. And so that is stated explicitly in this episode. And so that is, this episode is so anti-male. It's or at least anti-masculinity. It is insulting.
We need to get a woman on the panel. God, I would love a woman.
And well, yeah, it'd be nice if we had a woman on the panel. I agree, but unfortunately,
I'm gonna message Arwen, see if she can join us. Anyway,
but or at least a woman who has seen this episode. I would say.
I'm gonna ask Arwen.
But but the truth is that no, a woman should not demand that a man change in order to conform to her wishes, to become a good man for her, in order to properly assimilate into her wishes to be in a good relationship. That is
Well, but
Absolutely.
they actually
But
have this
can I
conversation
point out two
later.
things?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah.
point out two things? First of all, the Claire Isaac plot line was the A plot of this episode, which means that it was the primary
Yeah.
plot line that the episode focused on. And I was just like, I don't care. I fucking
Wow.
don't care.
I'm so
Like,
I'm gonna,
like if Claire and Isaac
Mhm.
want to have their relationship relegate it to a B or a C plot, I just don't care about this relationship, especially considering that we've had 2 seasons of relationship development between the two of them, and this is the last season, and it's like they're starting from point zero. But the second part of this, and this was the thing that annoyed me the most about the episode, and this is a me thing, right? When they're on the holodeck and Isaac has his emotions going,
Oh,
and he starts making out with Claire, and like their lips are like touching and locking. I'm like, he doesn't have lips.
right.
How are they making out like that? That's just a me thing though. Like
Well,
that's one of those
my
things where
thing was-
I'm nitpicking about it.
well, when they do the holograms, you can feel it when somebody punches you. So they're just resequence what do they call it? Resequence
photons or whatever.
Yeah,
But my whole thing about the holodeck sequence though was honestly when Isaac was giving his speech about how, oh, I'm going to love and I'm going to sing. I was like, am I watching Days of Our Lives or the Orville?
yeah. All right.
This is some of the most hammy, worst soap opera acting I've ever seen in my life.
Okay,
I
hold
can't
up.
believe I'm watching a sci-fi show.
You're killing me, guys. Like, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I was the only one that cried at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
would say
All right.
so.
All right. I was bawling like a baby, but we'll get to that. I don't want to or do we want to do each plot point at a time? Do we want to just talk
No.
about the whole
I'm
okay.
sorry. I didn't mean to jump ahead.
Well, so
but
you guys kind of
there were so many plots, though.
I
in
know
this.
there was a lot. So we're getting into the other one, which goes into this this man hating segues nicely. I don't remember what they're called, but this the mirror unit, the mirror version of the Mocklins,
The Femizons.
Yes, I like that. The Femizons show up, and we see Kelly have to pretend to be captain. Tala pretends to be the first officer. Charlie is the chief engineer, and basically Ed and Gordon have been reduced to bag boys. And I actually, I'm glad I don't have your analytical brain, but I think you've ruined this episode for me now, guys. because of what I was about to say, I'm like, oh shit, I'm just proving their point. I love to see it when upon first watch, I was laughing at stuff, like especially like when the guys are struggling with the luggage and then it ends with Ed tripping. I laughed out loud.
Right.
So I'm just I'm an idiot. I'm their target demographic, I guess. But I'm afraid to ask what you guys thought of this scene in this introduction.
Hello, Miss Moneypenny.
Oh, hey, Mom.
Well, there are a couple things that
30 minutes.
I want to
Yeah,
talk
please.
about with this storyline. So first of all, the idea that they would actively deceive another race that they're trying to find an alliance with in order to ease them into the reality of their situation is one of the worst negotiating tactics you can possibly do, because you start off the relationship based off of like falsehoods,
and
it makes it impossible for the other party to ever trust anything you say.
Exactly, and that's why I said earlier this was my biggest problem with the episode.
So that was dumb. Like it could have been something where like Ed let Kelly take the lead, but like they didn't, kind of like put the men forward. So to speak, but the fact that they like actively deceive these people was one thing. Another thing is that this race isn't even nearly as advanced as the Union. Like they don't have like the quantum technology and all this stuff. They're constantly being like, oh, can you tell us how this works and stuff like that. So it's like, why are they going to be allies against the Kalon necessarily? Like they don't bring anything to the table, right? So,
or if they do, they certainly didn't explain it.
Yeah, they said that they were roughly on par with the Union, but they were acting like, "Wow, your technology is so awesome."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also here's the thing. So like as soon as they discover Timur with his emotions and stuff like that, you'd think that like that would take priority because that's something that they could unleash against the Kalon enemy to kind of pacify them. So
Right.
that's like way more of an important weapon against the Kalon than this alliance with
I
the Femizons.
I agree with
Um,
that. Yeah. And I thought it was so like it didn't bother me. This part actually didn't bother me until they showed them talking to the admiral, and the admiral is okay with this deception. That to me, that's what I was like, what, this makes no sense. It was funny if like they did it and then they go talk to the admiral and say the admiral's like, no, that's a stupid idea. Like they'll never trust you. He's just like, okay, yeah, whatever you think is good, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god. Like,
but there's a broader issue with this plot line that I have that I really want to get into real quick, and if you guys will just indulge me for a second.
for sure.
So later on in the episode, when they kind of start digging into the culture of the Femizons, it's a very obvious allegory for fundamental Islamic beliefs about the role of women and men in their society, right? They just reversed it.
Yeah.
So it's basically like they're saying like, oh, okay, this is basically Sharia law, but with women in charge instead of men.
Mm-hmm.
And in that respect, throughout the course of the episode, they're catering to Sharia law by subjugating the men in society and making the men inferior to these third wave feminist wet dream. Like this is basically a third wave feminism ideal of how women who are third wave feminists want society to be. They want men to be subservient to women. And this notion that the Union is catering to Sharia law, right? As opposed to with the Mocklins, when like they were repressing the female aspect of their society, they went to bat for the females and took them to court and pushed back against them hard. There's no pushback here. They're just accepting it.
Yeah, everything seems so out of character this season, right? I was talking about that last week.
Now, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but we did just get a donation for
Super chat.
Thank you, sir. From Amber Heard. Thank you.
Oh God.
Amber.
I can't wait to hear this one.
Amber Heard says, thank you guys for helping me figure out how to sue Johnny again by claiming rough sex, which was consensual, is abusive. People will believe me this time. Hail Karoga. Thank you, Amber Heard.
But those are really the two aspects of that subplot that
I always learn
really
shit
bothered
when
me.
when I do a show with you, I always learn shit because I didn't even think of that. And then when you pointed it out, it's like, oh man, why am I so stupid? Like, God, it's like, but I'm glad because I needed the enjoyment last night. It was a long night, so I would not have enjoyed it if
my goal is not to ruin your enjoyment of the show, Danny. It's to point out why I don't enjoy the show.
No, I get it. And if I go back and watch it after we talk, I'm afraid that I won't enjoy it but we'll get into, because there were some scenes that I really did like a lot. Were you done with your point? I'm sorry, I'm bad about.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, what did you think about Michael? Like, I never thought about that, but he's absolutely right with the whole Sharia law and the allegory for.
I didn't consider the Sharia law part.
I didn't either, but he's absolutely.
Which I do think is interesting and makes sense. I saw them as more or less a mirror to the Mocklins. And I did find it interesting that the person who made the most derogatory comments about them was Bortus.
They're actually worse than the Mocklins because the Mocklins, I mean, I guess it's.
I don't think they're worse than the Mocklins. In fact, the Mocklins are worse than them because the Mocklins have systematically exterminated their females.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
But there's an allegory here between the slavery of the Kalons, the robotic Kalons, and the slavery of the men in this society. And one was bad, and it was acceptable to rise up against the slave owners and kill them all. But the other is good because it's the women who are in charge. And they made a big point about saying that when men were in charge, there were just a bunch of wars. Everything was terrible. It was miserable.
They did try to justify.
And now that women are in charge, hashtag girl boss, everything's great.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other thing, is that's probably why I didn't see it as a Sharia law allegory, because they tried to justify it at the end with
Well, I'm sure they
by trying to talk about how all the problems with men,
but
that men are unnecessarily violent, and men, they basically have all the wonderful discussions with all the problems with.
But it basically comes down to
masculinity.
men are only good for sex and reproduction. That was the message, right?
Right.
yeah.
But of
That's
course, we're not
society,
even good for that if you're Chilean.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. So after how did we get there? We were at the tripping the women. So they get taken to their quarters. They basically treat the men like shit, tell them to F off. And then we cut back to K1, where K1 is serving the family and starting to show the first little hints of I guess sentience or self-actualization, self-awareness. What did you guys like? This is where I don't know, maybe here a little bit before here is where I started to figure out, oh, this is definitely the past. Again, because I'm just not as smart as Kadish, but this is where we start to get the first hints of because this is where they talk about going to school, and and then the Kalon shows an interest in it, and then the dad is just a total dick the whole time. What are your but then this is where they say, and then so it was right before this scene where they're on the bridge and they say there's a thing like a power surge, and that's why he's like, well, I guess the boys will go give us something to do, and then they cut to the where he's serving them dinner and the dad's being a dick to him, and so actually I was wrong. So I still think they're going to go down and find that Kalon. And then when they find the other one, that's when it's like, oh, it all came clear to me, because this is where Charlie and Gordon discover Timus, right? Is it Timus?
Timmer.
So, getting into this character, I was actually fascinated that you made the comparison to Lore, because this guy just seems like way opposite of Lore. He
is. He's
opposite direction.
Opposite of, yeah. He is the opposite of Lore.
Yeah, okay.
But he is a Lore character in that he is he is an emotional version of a Kalon.
I thought this was fascinating. What did you guys think about this scene? Because the Kalon, the Timus is talking about how he remembers everything, and he talks about feeling remorse, and he's just and they're still very distrusting. They being the crew of the Orville, of this Kalon. So what did you guys think of this character? I'm guessing I probably liked him a lot more than you guys did.
So when Isaac gets his emotions and he's dancing with Claire in the holodeck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the end.
Then all of a sudden his emotions go away, and he's like, they're gone.
Yeah.
I thought in that moment that Timmy was like a Trojan horse, and that he was going to fool the Orville into thinking he had empathy, and then that was going to go away, and he was going to attack the ship and take over, and Isaac was going to have to stop him. I thought that's where they were going.
Okay.
But no, it was just a more Claire Isaac relationship.
That shit made me cry, man. But we'll get to that at the end. We'll get to that at the end. Yeah.
I was thinking they were going to do something like when Isaac, remember when Isaac said, they said, oh, is there something I can do for you? Isaac said yes. I thought they were going to disable Isaac, and Timmy was going to replace Isaac. And that way they were going to Trojan horse their way in that way.
You guys are so cynical. I didn't have any of these.
No, that would have been a more interesting plot. That would have been, but instead we just got, dancing with the stars for a second.
Mom's in the chat. I blame my mother because she watched soap operas when I was a kid and wouldn't let me watch cartoons because back in
the melodrama in this episode was off the charts.
Yeah,
Melodrama, when done right, can be enjoyable, but for the most part,
General Hospital.
the Orville is not supposed to be a melodrama,
right? It's
supposed to be a sci-fi adventure series with a little bit of comedy in it.
Yeah.
And this was episode 7 of a 10-episode season, right?
Yeah, this is like
This
Like-
was
like
the
we've
very
had-
definition of a filler episode.
Yeah, we've had 7 episodes of complete bullshit that's not leading anywhere.
I don't think this was filler. We got a lot of backstory on the Kalon. We've got a
Hold on.
But Dan,
I think this
Danny,
guy might
ultimately
be
nothing
fighting.
happened. Ultimately,
At the beginning
nothing
of this
happened.
episode and the end of this, you know what happened?
Claire
in
and
this?
Isaac got back together. Damn it!
No,
That's
you know what?
happened.
At the beginning of this episode and the end of this episode, Claire and Isaac's relationship was in the same place.
No, it's
The
not.
only thing, yes, it was.
No,
At
it's
the end
not,
of this
because-
episode, Claire even said, "I don't know."
All right, we'll talk about
So,
it when we get to the end of the
The
episode.
only
You
thing
gotta-
that
you're
changed
killing me.
at the end of this episode is Charlie doesn't hate Isaac as much. That's it. That's the only development that happened in this episode.
Okay, so you know what I think I'm going to start doing? I'm either going to send you like my notes ahead of time,
You can send me your notes.
or
That's
or
it.
or we gotta like agree to like, okay, we're gonna talk about this plot point, then this plot point, because like the format the last few weeks is you have me go in order, and you.
I'm sorry. Well, this
You're going everywhere.
this episode just had way too many.
I am not Quentin Tarantino. I have a very linear brain. I
Yeah,
can't
I know.
bounce around on my notes here. You know, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. But so we go back to. Are we done? Yeah, because
I didn't mean to derail you. Go
it's
ahead.
fine. So this is where they bring the Kalon back onto the ship, and Lamar's having a nerdgasm over what she was able to do with him, because it wasn't an emotion chip. That is, again, that's an oversimplification. This doctor figured out a way to integrate.
It's
Like,
an emotion rewire.
she rewired him, but yeah, and
You know, Danny, you were talking about the Bylon who was being a dick to Timmy in the past, right?
yeah.
And the entire time I was watching that, I was just kind of thinking, like, what if my Alexa just started talking back to me and being like, "Oh no, you don't want to listen to this music. You want to listen to this because it's better for you." And like,
Right.
like what would happen if our like computers and TVs and Alexas and home devices?
You mean like how YouTube won't show you
Talking
your
about
subscriptions anymore?
Exactly.
So look, this is why that guy from Google thinks that AI has already achieved self-awareness or whatever he said, because this is why I don't own any of those. Like, I don't own any Alexa devices or Google. The only thing I have that I can talk to, unfortunately, is my phone, which is arguably kind of the worst thing. But like,
I mean, Michael, have you ever cursed out your Alexa or Google Home device or anything like that?
I don't have either one because I think they're a waste of time, and I don't
Because there are times
believe in AI.
So Jude has an Alexa downstairs and she listens
Mm-hmm.
to audiobooks when she's like cleaning and stuff like that.
uh-huh.
And I've heard her curse out Alexa more than once because it just doesn't listen to her. And so when I was watching this episode, I was like, I don't think that they're being dicks. I think they're being perfectly reasonable for like what they're expecting from their
Yeah.
robotic servant, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
so-
Siri on my phone.
It's different though. Like, you're talking about something that looks like a speaker. It's roughly, it's
Is it
roughly
different
this
though,
size.
Danny?
And
different?
it does. Well, it doesn't. It's not. Okay, you know what? That's a totally different discussion.
Just because it's humanoid in shape does not make it human.
Correct, and people tend to anthropomorphize. But if you're becoming sentient and self-aware, and the only difference is like your brain or soul or whatever you want to call it, is no different than me. It's just
But
look
you know what's
different,
funny about this whole
Miss
plot line?
Moneypenny, do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
what?
She said a naughty word in the chat.
So you know what's funny about the whole Bylon storyline
What's
is
that?
that it's really like an allegory for pharmaceutical companies that put out drugs that they know aren't going to fix things just so they can reap profits on it.
Now that I did see, like when we get to that scene, I'll talk about. So let me reel back into the linear order. Yeah, mom, potty mouth. So this is where, or I guess we decided we weren't going to talk about the Lamar stuff anymore. So they cut back to like, hey man, you've been avoiding me, blah blah blah, and then they decide to get back together, and then we go back to the family for a little bit, where it's just another instance of dad being a douchebag, but they introduced their concept of TV, which I thought was bizarre. Have you ever seen anything like that before? Like in sci-fi, like where they, you know what I'm talking about, where they're sitting at the table and it's just like this ball of a bunch of different lights. And it kind of seemed like their version of TV, right?
Yeah, it just seemed like generic entertainment for them.
Do you remember that episode of TNG where they have like the video game glasses that they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they do the thing, and the little thing, the ball goes into the funnel or whatever. So
Yeah.
you kind of think it's like that. And this
Also, Star Wars Episode 3, where they're at the
Yeah, where they're
opera, and
looking
there's
at
just
the
that big
people
ball.
jumping in balls of
okay,
liquid.
okay, all right. Well, there's still other things going on. This was just a weird, like I was just wondering. I guess they left it to the imagination. I was just like, what are they looking at? But so there's a lot of this back and forth intercutting, and then between the past and the present, where Isaac and Timus are talking about where he's like, hey, I can give you emotion, that whole thing. And why do you guys think Isaac turned it down? Because I kind of thought he would have jumped on that.
Because he's a cold, emotionless man who doesn't want to get in touch with his feminine side.
Okay.
And it takes the love of a good woman to make a man realize he needs to be in touch with his emotions and force him to accept them.
Shit. Yeah. Wow. See, I don't know if you're smarter or cynical, but I totally see that.
I'm both.
Perfect answer. That was great.
Isaac is a cold, analytical, man, right?
Yeah, but he's the epitome of logic, right?
But
right.
Wait.
What did he say?
To justify suicide? Why couldn't he use logic to justify? Danny, well, maybe emotions will make me more efficient.
Isaac doesn't lie. He simply said it. He didn't see the benefit as far as to the efficiency of his duties or to the duties of the ship in taking on emotion. Right?
I think an argument could have been made.
The only benefit would have been to his relationship with Claire. Right? That would have been the only benefit in taking on these emotions. Okay. That wouldn't have benefited his job. It wouldn't have benefited the ship as a whole. So there really wasn't a need for it.
Okay. All right. Well, then, like, again, my simpleton just checked out, enjoying this show.
Right.
So then the next part, there's more of that's he gets hurt again. This is the scene you guys were talking about where he's limping down the hallway and Isaac has to help him.
Yeah, he broke his dick.
Yeah, it broke his pelvis. But this is also the scene where
now wouldn't have that been hilarious if it was a chick?
Again, guys, if done right, anything can be funny. I mean,
that exact scene.
Also, isn't this kind of like a hate crime too?
I don't know. But anyways, the main point of Lamar going to sick bay, it was so Claire, so Isaac had an excuse to get there to talk to Claire, so Claire could say, "Hey, I want you to do this emotion thing," and that was the real point of this scene. And I guess you guys have already told us what you feel about Claire asking him to do that, but I was watching it like, oh yeah, do it, like, because it's like 2 a.m. or whatever. And then this is what I want to talk about. The pharmaceutical company scene where they're in the past and this chick is like, I thought they were going to do something more with this, but it was just kind of, what did you guys think of?
Well, we already knew what the solution was, assuming you paid attention in Identity.
Yeah, but the whole, like, it was clearly, yeah, we did this, but we already knew this was going to happen, and we've already planned. It's very much like the Dope Sick in a way, What did you? I know, Kate. Have you seen Dope Sick, Mike?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
I picked up on the subtext here right away. I mean, it just goes hand in hand with the anti-capitalist message of the show in general. So like, it's not a surprise, because the Orville has publicly been very vocal. Like, it hates capitalism.
They hated capitalism from season 1.
Yeah.
It's basically, a socialist utopia type thing. As far radical left as you can get, that's the Orville right now.
Yeah. Well, then,
I mean, the thing about the Claire Isaac storyline that I just want to touch on real quick. if this were in the heyday of the Next Generation, right? Like if this were a Next Generation episode, what we would have seen is instead of like half the episode being like Claire convincing Isaac to, become emotional, Isaac chooses to try out the emotions at the beginning. And at first, it's everything Claire wants. And then at a certain point, the emotions turn.
Oh, stop writing better shit. That would have been good.
And he's not able to deal with like negative emotions. And so his emotional state ruins their relationship. And so when he reverts back to his normal self, Claire, even though she had a good time at the beginning, feels it's best to love him for who he really is, as opposed to trying to get him to change.
That would have been better. Yeah.
I mean, that's what TNG would have done back in the day.
Yeah.
But we don't get that, right?
You need to work for these people. You need to be a consultant, man. You always make these shows better every time we talk. It's like,
well, that's why TNG was a better show.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, hands down. Now this season's been terrible. Anyway, damn you guys. Yeah. I might have to change my mind on this episode because the next part I thought. Well,
if you enjoy, and the thing is, now that if you enjoyed the episode, then that's fine. And I know Kadish said this earlier, but if you enjoyed the episode, our goal isn't to say don't enjoy the episode.
Oh no, I'm not. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that. So
but still, we want but take the episode for what it is. The episode is trying to has certain messaging in it that I can't ignore, and
right.
Kadish can't ignore.
And so when I didn't see it, and now you pointed out to me, I'm literally looking. I was about to say something, and then like before I said it, I'm like, wow, this is just really further feeding into their point, and I'm really starting to see it now. But it worked on my idiot brain last night. So the next scene is where basically the scene where she tries the Femizon is like grabs Ed Mercer's hands, like, oh, you have soft hands, and she like claims him for like, she's like, I'm banging this dude tonight, unless any of you guys are gonna bang him. Nope, cool, all right, cool, then I'm gonna bang him. I thought the scene was really funny, especially when Gordon is all like, I'll do it.
Yeah. That's Gordon for you, though. Gordon's the funniest part of this entire series.
Didn't that make you laugh, though? Like there was...
Yeah. The Gordon line gave me a chuckle, but that was Gordon being Gordon.
Yeah. That's just Gordon.
And the... but the funny thing is that, so that's... So here we have the alien feminist dream, trying to lay claim because, okay, she wants to, lay claim on this inferior man. And then the human women say, no, you can't have our men. We claim our men. And it's like our men just have to sit and be quiet about it.
Well, then this is the scene where
they're not allowed to speak up. Yeah, I know. They're not allowed to speak up because they need to be the good passive men about it. And granted, this is the scene where it comes to a head eventually. But, this is, this whole episode is just all about men just be quiet and let the women talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically
roasting me in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, if you really look at this, right, they're saying it's okay for men to be abused in relationships. It's okay for men to be subservient to women. It's okay for men to basically, do whatever the women tell them in order to be in a happy relationship. And it's okay for women to sexually abuse men and take advantage of them. Well, all this stuff, one after the other, just builds on top of the message that women are inherently superior to men, and therefore men need to be treated like women.
But this is the scene where they draw the line
in order for revenge.
Right, but
I mean, within the context of the show, it's where they draw the line. But they never rebuke the actual race for how they behave.
Yeah,
but if you look at a Mocklin episode,
they straight up say the Mocklins are terrible people.
Yeah, they take the Mocklins to task for their societal rules, whereas the Femizon race is not taken to task at all. They're just kind of like, oh, well, you can't do that with our men, right? And then they get pissy and they leave because they were lied to. And there was a certain point there where like Ed could have gone along with it if he so chose. But he was like, even this is a bridge too far. And that's when Kelly basically tells them the truth and basically nukes the negotiations because they were lying to them the whole time.
Yeah.
So I mean, the entire premise of this episode,
I think she was thinking about it though.
Yeah, no,
the entire episode is just fucking stupid.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Okay. Well, after this part, this is where Isaac goes to Timmis and is like, hey, I want to feel things. And I believe this is where Charlie goes to talk to or goes to engineering and gets the lesson on slavery, right?
So
right.
can I point out that like Timmis is just kind of like a stand-in for a male feminist because it's a woman who fixed him, right?
Right.
It's the woman scientist that gave him the emotions, and now he's the perfect Kalon because like he's in touch with his feminine side, and it took a woman to save him and all this stuff. I mean, like, I don't want to sound like I'm like a misogynist talking about this stuff.
Oh, you're a misogynist pig.
But I mean, like, I don't have a problem with like, you know, female characters doing things, but like if you look at this within the context of the overall theme of this episode, it's very blatant what they're trying to tell you. And Timmis is just the epitome of a male feminist. He's someone who is subservient to women, who's in touch with his feelings. He's like super emotional, and he's trying to convert
his
he's trying to convert other men. Like, women can relate to Timmis, and he's trying to convert other men into his way of thinking. And it's very like it's there if you care to see it. But they wrap it in these tropes and a couple of gags so that you don't notice it if you're not.
And Charlie, the one character who eternally hates Isaac, finally comes around after talking to him.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, you guys are anyway. So yeah.
And the Kalon, right? The Kalon who are subservient to the Bylons in their society and who are actually tortured and treated as slaves. That's an allegory for how men treat women in society, right? And so the only way for women to, you know, free themselves is to rise up and kill the men and take over, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the theme that we're basically talking about here.
See, so now, again, I'm just going to keep further proving your. It's so funny, the points of views, man. So I actually had I had a problem with the fact that the way they bring him back to the negotiation table is by Kelly falling on her sword, talking about the whole cheating thing. So before I even get into it, because I already know I'm wrong, I would just love to let me pull the ripcord on Kadish and let her rip, buddy.
Yeah. So this is the climax of the negotiation storyline, right? Where they can't come to a societal alliance, but they can come to like an interpersonal alliance by showing the Femizons that they're not so different, right? That men and women can work together, and therefore that's an opening for their societies to come to some type of agreement. But the way they go about doing it's very interesting in the sense that Ed's a cuck, right? And like as long as the man is cool with his woman sleeping around and making a fool of him, that's the most empowering thing a woman can do, by emasculating the man that she's married to and being unfaithful to him and relegating him to a insecure joke. And that's the way that they build a bridge with the Femizons, right? Is by saying like, hey, we subjugate our men too. And they should have taken it one step further and had her tell her that she got him his job.
See, this is how I want people to understand. I wish I could do this. I feel like Kadish could write I can't cuss on your show, sorry. A dissertation.
You've already cussed like 20 times today.
I haven't dropped an F-bomb.
Are we not supposed to cuss on this show?
No, we're not. I mean,
well, Dork Knight isn't supposed to. He has a running tab for every time he cusses on my show.
Because I've dropped a few F-bombs.
I know.
So my apologies.
That's okay. So, I try to keep it PG-13 around here.
Okay. Yeah. So I do try to catch myself at least. But I forgot what I was going to say though. So where were we? Oh,
Was
you could write a dissertation about this episode because, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, God, you should write an article about this or something. Or I was like, fuck, this could turn into like a term paper. And I was like, you're just like, there's so many layers of shit they're wrapping in here. I didn't even realize that you're pointing out. Like, it's fascinating how your brain works. I guess it just comes from being educated, though. Really, the next part after this is we get the scene that made me cry. So the red dress.
It made me want to cry.
Oh, you're funny. So the red dress is there. She goes, and we have this this. I don't know. I love the scene up until, and I'm glad he didn't keep it because I'd actually would have been more bummed if he kept it until you pointed out he should have kept it and then had the bad emotions. Like that would have been that's how TNG would have did it, like you said.
I think he should have kept it and been a Trojan horse.
No, why are you guys so hell bent on him being a Trojan horse? Like,
because then something would have actually happened in this episode that was exciting and fun.
Okay, well, I was entertained, but at the end of this scene, when he says he lost it, I wept like a damn baby. So you guys go ahead and make fun of me. Do you like this episode and emasculate me, and tell me why I'm so
It's
wrong.
not about emasculating you. That's fine that you.
No, I just said that because I was crying. So
I know. No, I'm glad that you got a good that you felt the emotions out of it. That's good. But the problem for me is that it just felt, like, and it was the analytical side of me was that I was like, this is just them trying to tell me that being masculine is bad. That I have to be a feminine male in order to be a good
male.
Did
you? So you think Isaac? You think Isaac was being feminine in that scene where he's just like telling her how much he loves her and the kids and how he like, you thought that was him being feminine? I mean, like,
so Danny, the point isn't that he's being feminine. It's that he's fitting into a woman's ideal of what a man should be like, which is closer to being a woman, like someone who is very emotional, in touch with their emotions, all this stuff.
Dude, and that's not to say Bird of Prey's comment on the screen, please. Sorry.
I mean, that's not to say men can't be emotional and be in touch with their emotions, but within the context of the episode, what they were saying is that you have to fit into what your woman wants you to be in order to make her happy. You can't just be yourself. You can't come to like some type of parity or equality, but where like the man and the woman. I can absolutely
hear Bird of Prey saying
that. Sorry, I was actually listening to Kadish.
So like at when Ed and Kelly are dealing with the femizons, they're trying to convince them that women and men in their society are on the same level, that they're equals, right? Even though they're saying that it's okay for us to subjugate men when we do it as well. But like the message of this episode was not that men and women need to be equal with one another, that there needs to be parity, that there needs to be balance to the sexes. What they're saying is that men are only good when they're fitting the ideal that women set out for them. Otherwise, they're buffoons and they need to be relegated to secondhand citizens. Well, they need to be abused, they need to be taken advantage of, and they need to be ridiculed. Well, and that was the message.
Well, hold up though, but this ends with so he has this like, oh my God, it's gone. So they go to the engineering area and they meet with the lady doctor, fish looking redhead, and Timus, and they're like, we could do this, we can fix him. This is where we find out that he's like, Timus was like a first gen Kaelon, so more than likely that's where I was like, oh, so he is the guy. He's basically telling his backstory, and that Isaac was made by the Kaelon, so he's like a second or third gen whatever, so his shit works different. So basically, the only way he can have emotion is we got to reboot him and erase his memory, which I don't understand, because if he's a computer, didn't he put his memories into the ship at one point in time in a previous season?
You're asking logic from a show that literally hid within a black hole.
Okay,
at a certain point.
Yeah. So anyway, so they have this decision, and Isaac leaves it up to the female, and I think if she'd have said, "Yeah, wipe it," I hit the lottery, it would kind of more prove
Danny,
your point than
think about what you just said. Isaac lets the woman make the decision.
damn. See, yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah.
And look, there's a comment for you right there.
What's that?
The Bylon kids.
I was so dude, so dark. So I skipped that scene on purpose, man.
Those kids were assholes, though.
They were, man.
They really were.
And I guess you said it made her two-dimensional, but this episode ends with Charlie going to Isaac and giving like the little speech that we heard in the trailer for this episode about nuance, and people have a tendency to see black and white, and blah blah blah, that whole thing. So you thought that this made her a worse character, Mike? You were saying that earlier.
He said it removed a dimension from her that was there previously.
Oh, as far as Charlie?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I said, well, when I was kind of half joking, because I said that Charlie was the character who hated Isaac and was good at math. So now she's no longer the character that hates Isaac and is good at math, because she no longer hates Isaac.
I thought it showed some, again, my simpleton. I'm going to rewatch this now after talking to you guys, because I bet you I feel a totally different way now when I watch it again. But I thought it ended the episode on an up note, where she's growing, she's getting over, I don't know. So I left this episode, like I tweeted right afterwards. I was like, this is the best. It felt the most like seasons 1 and 2. It was my favorite episode by a long shot of this season. But I guess, it's not hard to be the.
So let me ask you this, Danny. Tell me something about Charlie besides the fact that she hates Isaac and is good at math and is a lesbian.
She's interested in archaeology.
She's very hot. She's incredibly hot.
Other than superficial things.
I kind of disagree. I actually don't find her attractive, but I'm weird. I think Claire's.
I don't particularly find her super hot. I think she's too petite, but that's just me. But
anyway.
Okay, so she has a passing interest.
I'm all about Chapel on the Strange New World.
Yeah, so. I think Chapel.
I'm kind of all over the place. I don't know what it is for me.
So Charlie's an excellent pilot.
Look,
she can think in four dimensions.
That's the good at math thing. That's
okay.
But
all right. Well, overall,
the Admiral chose her to fly.
We really don't know jack about her.
I think. So this is the end of the episode. I think I would say the normal give your overall thoughts, but I'm pretty sure we know how everybody feels. But if you want to, because I was thinking, if you guys have time, if you want, we've all seen Thor. I thought it could be fun to talk about Thor for a few minutes after.
We'll talk about Thor in a minute, but
okay.
But what I wanted to sum up what
give it a score or two. Let's go around and
Yeah, I give this a solid 2.5.
Out of what?
Out of 5 or
10?
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, 2.5 out of 10. It is just.
But it's a solid 2.5.
A solid 2.5.
So are you comparing this, because the way I do this is I compare it to the other episodes, and that's how I base my number off of it. So if I said something, because last week I think, or one of the weeks I said something was like a 7.
Actually, okay, no, let me rephrase that. Okay, in that case, I'm going to give this a 5. I will give this a 5 out of 10 based on I gotta be fair on my scoring system, because on my scoring system, a 5 means that if I compare it to watching paint dry, it's a toss up. If it's a 5, it's a 5 out of 10. It's a toss up compared to watching paint dry. Now, most of the other episodes, I would say episode 2, the spider one, is probably a 5.5. All the other episodes are less than a 5. And but this one is a 5. I will tell you this: one of my big problems with this episode is, with the exception of Charlie not hating Isaac, nothing happens in this episode. They enter into negotiations with the species at the beginning of the episode. There's no alliance. At the end of this episode, there's no alliance. At the beginning of this episode, Isaac has no emotions. At the end of this episode, Isaac has no emotions. At the beginning of this episode, Talia and Lamar are not having sex. At the end of this episode, Talia and Lamar are not having sex.
That's not true. The first scene with them
because at the beginning of this episode, they start having sex, and I guess they start breaking bones.
I tried to say this earlier. I think there's because they only have 10 episodes. I think there are significant time jumps in between.
Well, maybe so, but you know what? I'm sorry. There's just nothing happens.
I get what you're saying.
Right? There's no significant advancement of anything.
Okay.
There's no reason for this episode to exist in the Orville universe.
I think
there's
a lot of character development with several characters.
What character has any significant development?
Yeah. How are
other than
so we've got Charlie, we've got Claire,
other than Charlie not hating Isaac? What other development is there?
I just named them. Okay, so we've got Claire. And
Claire and Isaac's relationship is in the same status at the end of the episode than it is at the beginning.
No, but there was but things happened. Like he got to express
things happened, but their relationship is in the same status.
I don't think it is.
It's maybe at the beginning, it's maybe at the end.
Okay, for sure. So, and that's why you gave it a 5. Kadish, or did you have anything else you wanted to?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Nothing develops. There is no change.
Yeah, you said it like 10 times, bro. I got you. Yeah. So that's the blur.
I mean, this is the epitome of a episodic reset episode, right? Where they set things up so that in the next episode, if you watch it out of order, you're not confused by the developments that happened here. So like everything that happened was reset by the end of the show, except for maybe Charlie's take on Isaac. The thing that gets me about this season in particular, because it is the last season of the Orville.
Yeah, and it's only 10 episodes. Like an episode
that they knew that they had 10 episodes to tell a sweeping story to wrap up this show. And what they've done is they've treated it like an episodic, propaganda
like they're supposed to have 27. Well, I don't know the way they make
what they could have done that they didn't is they could have planned out a 10-episode story arc that deals with the universe coming together against the Kalons. We could have gotten the flashback to the origin of the Kalons, gotten some sympathy for the enemy, and then built up to an actual resolution of this stuff that would have given the fans something to go out on a high note. But instead, we get these episodic bottle episodes that are about depression, suicide, death, the pointlessness of religion, the pointlessness of the universe, men being subservient to women, Trump being a bad president, people who support Trump being bad people, like all this other stuff that they're just like, we're on our way out the door, so we're just going to burn the building down as we leave. It's insulting to me.
So I don't even think they're going to conclude the Kalon storyline.
This episode, even though I said it's the least offensive one of the season so far, like it's not a good episode. It was boring. It was very heavily melodramatic. I had to stop 30 minutes in just because I was bored stiff and I needed to take a break and I had to come back to it later. The only episode this season that I've actually kind of had fun watching was the second episode, which was the one where they go into the space station and the
Shadow Realms,
the Shadow Realms.
Yeah.
So like that to me was like actually kind of a fun episode, even though it wasn't like all that great to begin with. But this episode, like I'd have to disagree with Michael in the sense that I'd rather watch paint dry than watch this episode because it's that boring. On a scale of 1 to 10, so far every episode of the Orville this season, except for episode 2, gets a 0 from me. But this episode gets maybe like a half point, maybe a 1, because it was the least annoying. But it's still woke as hell, and its messaging is incredibly insulting. Like, just think about this episode if all the men had been swapped with women. It reminds me of episode 2 of Stargate SG-1, where Samantha gets kidnapped by the Mongol tribe, and like it's all about like, you know, how women have to be subservient to men, and it's like girl power and feminism, all that stuff. But it's the reverse of that, right? And if you watch that episode of Stargate, it's actually a pretty good episode, even though like the messaging is very heavy-handed. In this episode, the messaging is very heavy-handed, and it's not a good episode. So to me, it was just like a huge bore fest. It was a waste of my time. And if I didn't have OCD and I wasn't a completionist, I'd have given up on this season like 2-3 episodes ago, because it's that painful for me to watch.
So what did you think of, if you don't mind me asking, in like, I didn't see if you reviewed it, but what did you think of last week's episode? Because we didn't have you on last week. I don't think you and I talked about last week's episode.
Last week's episode was so horribly insulting and terrible.
The Gordon time travel one, right?
The Gordon time travel one. It was so terrible. I couldn't believe that there were people out there that actually thought it was good.
It's funny. We hated it. We agreed on it. And he didn't expect us to. He thought I was going to love it.
But look at the messaging in that episode, right? It was, it's okay to kill children. It's okay to abort babies. It's okay to destroy the nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the message of that episode.
That episode we did not care
like that stuff is dark, and the Orville's been preaching stuff like this the entire season.
I guess that's why this episode I was just like, because that's the way I've been doing. I've been comparing the episodes to just the episodes in this season, because it is a totally different show, New Horizons.
But if you think about the end of last episode, where Gordon was like, man, I was a real asshole.
I was really selfish
for wanting to protect my family.
Yeah.
For wanting my kids to exist.
Yeah, that pissed me off. Like so I don't mean to open that can of worms. So it sounds like we all agree.
But what's even worse than that, Danny, is that the Orville, when they saw Gordon's obituary, right, from the past, they knew what impact his kids had on their future. This wasn't a situation where Kelly dumped Ed and it created the dystopia, the worst timeline, right?
This
where
is
it
exactly
destroyed
what we
the
said.
entire universe.
Yeah,
this is a situation
we talked about
where
this.
Gordon fell in love with his dream woman, had a family, and they went out and didn't change a thing.
Like
they had to die.
Yeah, it was, and not only
they had to be wiped from existence.
Yeah, but not only that, he had to do the exceptionally effed up thing and tell him he was going to do it. So, like, for however long they're existing before they're blinked out of existence, they're just sitting there like anxious and stressed. That was, to me, that was kind of evil almost. Like, so anyway, I didn't want to talk about last week's episode anymore. It's not, we all hated it. So
real quick,
also the whole time travel thing. I got a lot to say about the time travel.
I do want to say, because since your mom said we now know why the Kalon are the way they are. Well, we already knew that. They said that in Identity. They explained the Kalon backstory in season 2.
They just showed it to us.
They just put it into a visual format. But they told us that whole story. Right, it was nice to see it, but we did know that story.
Yeah. So we got a 5 from Mike, a 1 from Kadish. You guys are gonna give me grief, but I don't care. I'm sticking by.
Give me grief.
Well, so my score will probably change, but like what I already agreed to give it before we even talked was an 8. Now, hear me out. Now, let me explain why. Okay, because there's 2 episodes left. So if those 2 episodes are better than this, I still have room for a 9 and a 10. But I'm basically putting them in like an order of my. So this was my favorite episode, but was being the key word there. So anyway, so that's my score, and I'm sticking by it. But I think if I watch it again, I'll definitely be seeing it through a different lens.
So Bird liked last week, but then Bird hates, children.
Real quick, so just going back to last week's episode. So that part where like they shut down the quantum field while they're traveling at the speed of light, so they can go into the future. Right. Could they have not stopped just a little bit short of their destination and warned the Union about the Kalon threat before going back to the present time, so that hundreds of millions of people wouldn't die?
That would have been a violation of time laws, but yeah, I mean, totally, they should have, Yeah.
Or how about they just go back and stop the Kalon
Again,
from
what
building
is
the
it?
robots in the first place?
I'm going to quote you to you,
Mhm.
but Kadish, you're expecting logic from a show that has none.
But like the entire time I was watching that episode, so first of all, they now have the technology to time travel, even though like the crystal thing like fritzed out at the end.
Well, they said
They-
they could fix it in 6 months.
Yeah. They know the science behind it. So like, could you not like send people into the future using that technique of like dropping the quantum shield,
Yeah.
scout out what's happening, and then jump back in time to let the people in charge know, hey, the Kalons attacked this place and this place. Let's stop them.
Yeah. See, that's why I hate why time travel. That's why I got a lot of respect for Rick and Morty, because it's a rule that he has that it's like there will never be
You
time
got a
travel.
lot of respect for Rick and Morty.
I do, man, because like time travel just it screws up everything, So yeah, like so speaking of screwing up everything.
Yeah, and you know what was a big part of the time travel in last episode that really annoyed me?
What?
So remember at the beginning when Gordon has them send the egg salad sandwich 3 months into the future?
Oh, dude, yeah, that pissed us off. Like, where the hell? Like, no payoff for the sandwich? Come on.
Well,
So,
we do have 2 episodes left.
So in a properly written episode, that sandwich, like Gordon would have chosen to go back to the Orville, sacrifice his life with his family so they could survive. So we get an older Gordon go back, and then at his lowest point, missing his family, the egg salad sandwich shows up, and he's like, "That's a nice surprise," and he eats it, and he's happy.
Stop writing better shit. Damn it!
That's how a properly written episode would have gone.
Oh my god, that's so good. All right, I'm gonna refill my drink. You guys can finish talking about that horrid episode if you want, and when I get back, can we attack Thor for a little bit?
Yeah, we'll attack Thor for a little bit when you get back. I think that personally, I think that that time travel episode, if they really want to do the time travel episode, where Gordon goes back and creates the family, either they, first of all, to wipe out Gordon's memories of it was a cheat. I still think they have 2 episodes left to resolve the sandwich. So I think if the sandwich doesn't show up by the end of the season,
Dude, it's not.
You don't think they're going to bring it back by the end of the finale?
No, it was a total throwaway joke.
See, I think they still can bring it back. I would love to see it as like the very last thing we see at the end of the last episode would be the sandwich to just pop in. Because he did say 3 months. So it hasn't been 3 months yet.
I think you're giving the writers way too much credit.
Well, I'm just hoping that
you should learn not to hope.
I'm just trying to be hopeful,
You're called the salty trekker, Michael.
I know.
Why are you trying to be hopeful?
I don't know.
Give in to your salt. The laziest and worst explanation when it comes to Hollywood is usually the correct one.
It's just that it's a Chekhov's gun thing. It's like they wrote the sandwich in. What's really pissing me off about this season? All right, here's where the salt comes in. This is what really is pissing me off this season of the Orville. It's bad enough they're doing the nihilism thing. It's bad enough that we're getting crappy story after crappy story after crappy story. But Seth promised us, we're not constrained by time. We're not worried about, broadcasting. So each episode is going to be like a mini movie. And you know what we've gotten? Long, boring episodes. Where's these mini epic movies? We haven't gotten a single mini movie. We've gotten boring episodes and padded ones at that. And it's like, did I show you the recut I did of episode 2?
Yes.
I mean, I cut 20 minutes out of that episode and it still felt padded.
You know, and you didn't take my notes. You could have cut out a few.
I know. There's still more than I could cut out. I just haven't done it yet.
I was listening the whole time and just oh damn it. Anyway, sorry. Soda fizzes so much, and I spilled some. I was pouring it too fast, and I had to clean it up. Yeah.
All right. So Thor.
Are you guys done talking about your disdain of the Orville? Okay.
So we're just Kadich thinks that we're never going to see the sandwich
his
again.
Picture. Oh, we're never seeing that damn sandwich again. And my daughter. Oh, I hope Matt Kadich can hear this because I know you know this. But I was watching that episode with my daughter, and she was enamored by the sandwich thing. And when the episode ended, she literally said, and I said this, she was like, "Well, what about the sandwich?" So, like, if it comes back, I can trick my daughter into watching one more episode of the Orville with me, but I don't think that sandwich is coming back either. So
I want the dang sandwich to show up.
I do. I want it. That's why we're not going to get it. We don't deserve good things.
It's just a trick to get people like me to watch the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's all it is. So wait a second to make sure Kadich is still with us here. Maybe he had to run to the little screenwriter's room
for sure. You know what I've been doing lately? I've been watching.
Do I really want to know this?
Yeah. So because I've been hard at work on these websites, and when I do this, I'll say it kind of annoys Cece. I'll work on something for like 12 to 14 hours straight. I mean, I'll get up and do stuff and be active, but so I'm like immersed in it. So I on this monitor here, I don't want to be distracted. But I like to have something on. That's why, I love podcasts because you can just listen to them. But I've been doing the original series thanks to the Salty Nerd guys. It kind of, they were scratching my itch. I was like, screw this. So I've been watching them in star date order, not in production order, not in release order, but in star date order.
Right.
I found this cool list of it, and it's fascinating because of I wish they would have. I wish I would have done this before.
Star dates are random numbers in the original series.
Well, like still though, like it makes sense because Uhura's wearing red in a couple of the episodes that were released before the first ones that were shot, and she's wearing gold in so there. It's weird. It's all out of little things like that. So it's just been fun to revisit it. So Kadich is back. We can talk about Thor, and I actually, sadly, it won't be as entertaining, but I think we are all going to agree on this. I don't
know. I have no idea what Kadich thinks.
I follow him on Twitter, so. But I liked Thor. I went and saw it with my son. My son enjoyed it, and he hated Multiverse of Madness. Like I could trigger him right now if and I'd be like, "Hey son, what'd you think of Doctor Strange 2?" And he'll just he hated it. But he really enjoyed it. We had a really fun movie-going experience, which always makes it better for me. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I'll get into more of my specific thoughts. But what did you guys
Well, full disclosure on my part, I am a MCU fanboy. My shill money Dropbox is, in fact, a Doctor Strange spell cube. So, yeah, I am a sold out MCU fanboy. I am fully vested in the MCU. But I've been collecting. Well, I know you're an old comic book guy as well. I still have all my old comics, and so and most of my comics are from the 70s and 80s. Which is where the MCU pulls a lot of its material, not obviously Thor: Love and Thunder. The funny thing about Love and Thunder is that when they first, when there were first rumors that they were going to do the Jane Foster Thor, I remember the fandom menace. The initial reaction from them was, "Oh, it's the MCU and woke and all that crap," and everybody started talking about how it's the ruination of Marvel and all this, and they're taking this horrifically inferior story that nobody liked, and blah blah blah. And then and the thing is that I didn't, I bought into it at first, but I didn't know anything about the story, and honestly, it wasn't until I talked to you a little bit, Danny, that I found out anything about the story, and it sounded like, oh, it's actually an interesting sounding story. So
Yeah, and the
maybe
only reason I came across it is because when I was in critical care, we had a girl dress up as Mighty Thor, and I didn't know about it, and I was like, "Oh, cool, and then she was like, "No, it's an actual run,"
Right.
and this was right after it came out, so I read the whole thing, and it was
Right.
Well, in defense of the fandom menace, the actual comic book story with Jane Foster's Thor is incredibly woke. It's very much girl power, anti-man type stuff. Sorry,
it's a lot different, but the high notes,
maybe so, but they also try to say it's such it like, for example, I've heard over and over and over how horrible it was as far as sales and all that. They always try to hit it in that department. However, it's one of the better selling books of its year.
A lot of the fandom menace guys are comic book guys, and so
Right.
they were.
And what they do is they compare its sales numbers to numbers from prior years when comics were selling more.
Sales aside, what they were basing it on was what they knew about the comic books, and basically the overall direction that Kevin Feige's been taking things with, like the Captain Marvel stuff and things of that nature. And so, like, I think that they had some like legitimate concerns going into Thor: Love and Thunder. Me, however, I'm a Taika Waititi fan. I have a great deal of faith in him as a filmmaker and a storyteller. I think he's one of the great new voices in cinema, because I haven't seen a movie of his I haven't liked. Thor: Love and Thunder to me was brilliant. It's one of the best Marvel movies out there right now. I had so much fun in the theater. Like, I took Jude and Matt Vader to the theater. We all saw it together. And we were laughing and hooting and hollering and having the best time ever. It was just a fun movie.
Right.
It was a cinematic experience that made you feel good while you were watching it. And when you left the theater, you're like, yeah, that was great. I was had surprised. A great time.
I was surprised to see that you liked it when I saw your tweet or whatever. And it brings such joy to my heart to see you reacting to something like I would normally.
But this is the problem.
It's the type of movie that I want. It's the type of movie that just, it's concerned about being fun and entertaining and telling a good story. And yeah, there was like a little bit of messaging in it, but it wasn't like beat you over the head. It was like really quick. And you know what? It just moved on with itself. And the relationships, the characters, the scenarios, the music, everything about the movie was just so perfectly done.
I think they did such a good job, and this is where Taika, I think, really nailed it. And honestly, I didn't think he could. Was especially after, with Ragnarok, I think he did a pretty good job, but there were a few times where I think he kind of pushed the comedy a little too much. Like at the destruction of Asgard, I think that he pushed the jokes a little too much. Like when Surtur was actually destroying Asgard and he had Korg say, oh, we can rebuild as long as the foundations are, and then it blows up. Nope, it's gone, and he was like sacrificing a dramatic moment for a joke.
Well, I think Love and Thunder had some excellent pacing to it. Like, it was serious when it needed to be serious.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I think he did
be funny.
But the funny thing about Love and Thunder is that Love and Thunder was a funnier movie than Ragnarok, but it had much more serious notes than Ragnarok as well.
Well, one of the things that shows Taika's skill as a filmmaker is that whenever it comes to the villain stuff, he always treats the villains very seriously. He doesn't make a joke out of them. And that is necessary to make the villains threatening to the heroes. And one of the things
he didn't do as well with Hela. Like,
one of the things I like about his take on the gods is that he makes all the gods buffoons, basically. And it's because they live on such a different plane of existence that They've never had to be held accountable for their actions and all this other stuff. And because of that, they're almost like the 1%, like
Right.
just like the full of themselves, kind of like, holier than thou, hedonistic type people.
Right.
And the biggest buffoon of them all was Zeus.
Oh, I loved Zeus in this movie.
Oh yeah, I think Russell Crowe's Zeus was absolutely great.
He's doing his Mario impression.
Yeah.
It's just this old
It's
Italian
me,
guy.
Zeus.
It's a me, a Zeus. Who wants to have the orgy? No, we have grape, we have wine. It's good. No, yeah.
And the funny thing is, as cheesy as that lightning bolt thing looked, it's like you really got the feeling that that's a weapon that actually makes Stormbreaker look like a wussy weapon.
Did you guys know? Did you guys recognize the guy who played Hercules at the end?
I did not. I mean, I he looked like a badass, but I don't know who he was.
He's like the new sensation in Hollywood. I forget his name.
So he plays this character named Roy on the show called Ted Lasso. He's like this retired soccer player who's like super like kind of like snarky and bitter and cynical, and he's great in that show. And so when I saw him up on screen as Hercules, I was like, oh shit, that's gonna be good.
I'm definitely seeing him. I'm looking forward to seeing him and Thor go toe to toe.
I liked how it looks comic book accurate, like Hercules.
He looks like Hercules to me.
Yeah. My favorite part about this movie is how they treated the weapons like former girlfriends.
Oh, I love that. Oh my god,
like Stormbringer's jealousy. Yeah, like everything about that just was hilarious.
Oh no, it was great. And then he's like, "Here, have your first beer."
One thing that's interesting to me though is that is that
T'Pring?
No, that's actually my wife's dog. That's
God.
T'Pring very rarely makes any sounds.
Okay, sorry. Tell that.
It's because my wife just got home. So
okay.
But there's been a lot of negativity around this film. And it's really I don't like it. I don't like the fact that like even now many in the Fandom Menace have been bashing the film and trying to stir up negativity about the like Midnight's Edge today put out a video about how about how horrible the film is. A lot of people
I don't watch Fandom Menace, so what are they saying? I guess because I don't know.
A lot of them basically saying the film is silly, that the film is that the film is a failure at the box office.
Is it though?
No, it's making more money than Thor Ragnarok did.
So I feel like sometimes people are just hating a thing to hate a thing. It's like cool to hate Marvel right now or something.
Well, that's the problem, is that Marvel is like a lot of people. It's kind of like with Star Wars. They'll say Disney Star Wars. They'll say Marvel's owned by Disney. Disney's an evil corporation. Therefore, it's posh to hate. And
another thing is that Taika Waititi is a notorious troll on Twitter. And he pissed a lot of these guys off with his tweets very early on in the process. And so I think they just have a grudge against him.
That's what it is. See, that makes total sense.
And that's one thing that I personally, I don't give a crap about behind the scenes stuff. If someone says something on Twitter, I don't care. If somebody says something, it's like, remember the big thing with Brie Larson was something she said at some convention that has nothing to do with Captain Marvel.
See, I don't, I don't even know about that. I don't.
I mean, she said basically, if you're a white man, this movie's not made for you.
Right, but it had nothing to do with Captain Marvel. It had to do with that other movie that she didn't even have anything to do with. I'm trying to remember the Oprah Winfrey Project. I can't remember.
But it's the sentiment, though. Like
I
she's
understand.
very anti-male.
I don't like Brie Larson, and I don't care about Brie Larson's attitudes.
Also, Captain Marvel was a terrible movie.
Well, I think Captain Marvel, I don't think it was a terrible movie, but I think it was a lesser quality Marvel film.
Hey, is Cinnabon Bunny trying to troll you, or
Cinnabon Bunny is always trying to troll me?
Oh, okay, all right. So that's
Cinnabon Bunny is my resident favorite troll.
Okay. I thought that was Thomas Potts.
Yeah.
But okay.
But anyway, but the no, I lost track of what I was trying to say.
Sorry.
The what was I saying? I'm sorry. I completely got derailed by you asking me about
Talking
cinema.
about Captain Marvel and Brie Larson.
The
Oh
Brie
yeah,
Larson
So Captain
comment.
Marvel, like I'll tell you, on my I give Captain Marvel like when I reviewed it, I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Remember, 5 out of 10 is equivalent to watching paint dry. I give it a little better than that. But I didn't think it was a great movie by any stretch.
I liked Captain Marvel. I liked it.
But I didn't think it was a atrocious abomination of a film.
It is, by the way. Just so I actually did a in-depth review of it on my YouTube channel, not the Salty Nerd channel, but my personal one. If anybody wants to go check that out.
But I think that the MCU as a whole, I think, has done a pretty good job. And there's some movies that I think have been great, some movies that have just been okay. And
I'm still an MCU fan. All these people who said the MCU ended after Endgame, I'm like, no, man, like it's still going.
I think the MCU is alive and well right now.
I liked Multiverse of Madness. I thought it was a fun movie. The only movie I didn't like a lot was The Eternals. I like Shang-Chi.
Yeah, The Eternals would have made a better Disney Plus series because there were too many characters and they needed to give each character an episode to get to know them and then bring the team together. And
like they did, with the Avengers,
right?
They were just didn't want to wait 10 years.
Did you guys see those? What was it? The Eternals gods, like the ones that made the Eternals.
Oh, the Celestials,
Celestials.
They were in the background.
I saw that. At the fight at the end.
By the way, did you catch?
And there was also one of their heads in the chamber to eternity as well. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. Did you catch the Cronin god? What he was sitting in?
Oh, the scissor throne.
Yeah, I love that. That was great. Did you see that, Danny?
Yeah, I pointed it out.
Throne of Scissors.
Yeah. So I put your.
I saw.
Okay, cool.
Just anybody wants to follow paper scissors joke
or check out that video. It's actually
rock paper scissors.
It's the first one that shows up for me.
But yeah, and like when Zeus took down Korg, people got pissed off about the fake deaths, but it's like, come on, it's Marvel.
Based off comic books, people, come on. Jesus.
Dude, I'll tell you this: when Thor imbues his power to all those children at the end, and the kids I'm sorry, when the kids start fighting all the shadow demons,
the kid fights with the teddy bear
to the tune of Guns N' Roses. Dude, I got chills.
That was awesome.
This is the greatest thing ever.
I still wanted to be one of those kids
from November Rain. It was
brilliant. It was so like the build up to it, and Thor's like temporarily for a limited time you have the power of Thor. The kids all like start glowing, and they start like running, and it's like it was so good. I loved it.
Right, but then people are saying, wait a minute, how can Thor do that? He couldn't do that before. It's like, because he had Zeus's lightning. He normally only has, Mjolnir or Stormbreaker, but he had Zeus's lightning.
Also, but in addition to that, so like Odin imbued his power into Mjolnir, right? And after Mjolnir got destroyed, he created Stormbringer, and that gave him access to his own power. Yeah, Stormbreaker. That gave him access to his own power. And so like he's able to now imbue the power of Thor into other things because he now controls it as opposed to it being granted to him by his father.
It would be like in the comics where he had the Odin Force.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Did you guys notice the play that's going on with the actors in Asgard?
I love that.
Plays Loki.
Yeah.
Lesser Hemsworth plays Thor, and then did you know who played Odin?
Sam
Yeah,
Neill.
Sam Neill, yeah.
Sam Neill,
And then
yeah,
they made a direct reference to Event Horizon starring Sam Neill.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And also the actress who played Hella.
Yes,
That was hilarious. That was a
yes.
fun
Yeah.
surprise.
My wife busted up laughing when
Yeah,
I
Melissa
knew
McCarthy.
I knew
Yeah.
she was in it, and so I didn't tell my wife about that, but I knew she was going to play Hela. I'm wondering, like for Thor 5, because I know that Taika is working on a pitch for Thor 5, but for Thor 5, I'm one because they're going to bring those players back.
Well, it's gonna be Thor versus Hercules, right?
Well,
Yeah.
no, they're going to have to bring the players back, but I'm wondering, are they going to have the players like add to them like some of the Guardians of the Galaxy and like
That'd be good.
you know,
You
and
get some people from Parks and Rec to show up.
oh man, that would be awesome. So that would be, I'm just trying to think of who all would they bring in to be the various Guardians. But yeah,
It'd be funny if they brought in The Rock to play Drax.
Yeah. Right. That would be funny.
No, you know what would be really funny would be if they got The Rock to be Groot, since Vin Diesel and The Rock have this whole thing.
So you guys,
That would be funny.
you made me check back. So I'm looking at the scene. So he's holding the thunderbolt, and he says the incantation thingy. And then I love how when they do the overhead shot, it looks like the tree of life, with like the way that they're getting all glowed up. That was cool. Yeah.
And it's like, and I love that Thor is like when he's talking to Odin. No, man, I'm a big fan. Based a lot of my work on you.
Yeah.
How about the screaming goats? How
Oh
great
my
were
God.
those?
Oh yeah. Well, and those goats are actually based on actual Norse mythology. Is that Thor actually did have 2 goats that would pull his sleigh and pull him around, and so it's like it's like, really? Okay, so but they weren't screaming goats.
I also love how they turned Asgard into a tourist destination.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which would make sense.
Yeah.
If Asgard were, that's, I think, more realistic to what they did in the comic books, where New Asgard was like this floating city and stuff.
Yeah. And there was this one moment in the movie, and it was just after Jane kind of like reverts back to her cancer self in the bathroom, and she goes back to being Thor, and Valkyrie comes to her door, and it's like, you got your sword? Yep. And then she's like, and then I got this, and she's like, you're bringing a hand grenade? And she's like, no, this is a Bluetooth speaker. She hits it, and they're just like rocking out for a second.
Yeah.
I love that moment. I don't know why.
It's
that
a nice
tickled me.
Well, it's a nice little human moment,
Yeah.
And I also, that's another thing that kind of got me was in some of the negativity that made me angry about this movie was I was listening to a review of the movie by Critical Drinker, and he kept saying how Natalie Portman was CG.
No, she was not.
And and she put on the muscle for this movie.
Her CG was when they made her sick.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And and they said the only trick they did for her when she was Mighty Thor was to have her basically on platform shoes to make her taller.
Yeah.
But that was entirely, she bulked up, and in fact, that's something I saw some stills of her before the movie came out, and that was the one thing that convinced me that she was taking the role seriously, was when I saw her actually without the armor, and I realized how much upper body, not just her arms, but like her lats and stuff, how big she had gotten.
I also,
because you can't tell with the armor, but she'd put a lot of upper body weight on.
We finally got the story about what happened between Thor and Jane Foster, like how they broke up.
The montage, I like.
Yeah.
No, I
and the way that they did it, where Thor was like, Mjolnir protect Jane Foster, and that's
Yeah.
one of
Yeah,
the
that
reasons
I
why-
thought was kind of
that
cool.
was cool. That was
Yeah.
a cool way of making that happen.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
And a lot of people didn't pick up on that. A lot of people were like, well, how come the hammer, what came to her? What makes her so special? And it's like, because Thor put an incantation on it, much like Odin did in the first film.
right,
You know,
exactly. And then,
he didn't mean to, but he did,
Yeah.
because he has that, he had the control over the hammer when he did it.
it was it was also good. Who do you guys think Love is going to end up actually being from the comics? There's a lot of talk about this online. I've been seeing.
Honestly, I don't have a lot of Thor in my collection, so I don't know. But first of all, I thought it was really cool that Love was played by Hemsworth's daughter.
Yeah.
I did think that was really cool. Although I think she should have had Mjolnir, not Stormbreaker, because that just looks so silly to have her carrying Stormbreaker at the end.
Well, yeah, I know, right? And it was like, how does Stormbreaker feel?
Stormbreaker's bigger than her.
Also, what happened to Captain America's Mjolnir? Is that still out there somewhere?
No, he took that back in time to Thor in 2000 and whatever it was when the Dark World came out. Because remember, that Mjolnir was taken from the Dark World. You remember?
Nope.
Yeah,
I hated Dark World, so like I checked out.
In Endgame, when they went on their time heist, Fat Thor took Mjolnir from Thor: The Dark World and brought it with them to the future to fight Thanos with. So Captain America had to take it back to Thor: The Dark World, or else Thor in Thor: The Dark World wouldn't have Mjolnir.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I know Hemsworth's son was also young Thor. Thank you. And let's see. I didn't see that, so it looks like Cray Trekker donated $1 a few minutes ago. Sorry about missed
Super
that.
chat. Sorry.
And said, "Did you like Miss Marvel? What's with all the hey? They're only after them because of Islamophobia. I think it's after the snap. It's more it'd be more hatred of aliens." Did you guys watch Miss Marvel?
No.
So I'm the only one that watched Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked Miss Marvel. I know that I'm not the demographic that it was intended for, but it's actually a fun little show. Miss Marvel will obviously be it, and it actually says at the end of the show, Miss Marvel will be in the Marvels movie.
Okay. My son Dorian tried watching it, and then he had a meltdown over. He's like, it was going good until they freaking introduced time travel. I'm so sick of time travel. And so like he's like, they don't even follow their own time travel rules. So something with time travel happened. I know.
Yes, there is.
Then they also make
and he stopped watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
There is some brief time travel. What's that, Matthew?
Didn't they end up making her a mutant?
Yeah.
Not officially, but they hinted at it that she may be a mutant.
So back to my original question. Are you guys familiar with the character Moondragon?
Heard of Moondragon, yes.
Just peripherally. So
there's this theory online that Love is going to end up being Moondragon. So if you guys aren't that familiar with it, it's not worth talking about. But I thought it was fascinating. So
she's part of the Infinity Watch, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a Titan. So like wouldn't necessarily make sense, but neither did what's his name? The dude plays Eros at the end of Eternals.
Yeah, the Eternals could just not show up again. I'd be okay with that.
Is Guardians of the Galaxy 3 going to introduce Adam Warlock? They kind of hinted at
they're
it.
Supposed to.
They've already cast.
My understanding is Adam Warlock's going to be the antagonist of Guardians 3.
Yeah. But the Christmas special, the holiday special is coming out before that.
Yeah, the holiday special is this Christmas.
This Christmas, yeah. So I'm looking forward
And
to that.
my understanding is Thor's supposed to be in the holiday special.
Yeah.
Was there some type of announcement about the next HBO Max series that James Gunn's working on? I think like it's going to be Suicide Squad related.
Oh, I thought I thought they were doing a Peacemaker season 2.
Well, they are doing a Peacemaker season 2, but he's also doing like a second series that's based off of like some Suicide Squad member. I think I remember reading something about like who it was about, but I can't remember it now.
Do not know, but I'll be honest with you, I don't like the Suicide Squad.
Oh, it was Captain Boomerang. That's who it was. And I was like, didn't he die in the second one?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But I hate Jai Courtney so much as an actor. I just don't like him. And it was funny because he played a very big role in the series I just watched, which was the Terminal List with Chris Pratt.
I love that. I love that show. Gary recommended it to me. I cannot say enough good things about the Terminal List. It was so good. Yeah.
See, I did anything when you just say the Suicide Squad, my brain shuts off.
Dude, have you not seen Terminal List, Michael?
No, I have not.
Dude, you got
it. It has nothing to do with Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with it. It's really good. It's military, Navy SEALs. It's really good, dude.
It's basically like a 10 episode or 8 episode revenge tale, and it's very good.
Yeah. So this is so funny. I can't believe I haven't told you this, Mike. So Gary had recommended it to me, and I had just set up it was the day I set up. I have a theater set up in the backyard now on my back patio with this huge screen and a comfy futon and stuff, so because
you're talking about how you like to get people into your comfy futon.
Shut up. It's not a casting couch. Anyway, so we were I watched one episode. I plan on watching one episode because first of all, it's outside. It's still like 90 degrees at night here in Vegas.
Stay away from Danny's futon. Anyway.
And I ended up not going to bed that night because I couldn't stop watching it. So I stayed outside and watched on the entire show, like all 8 episodes in one sitting because it was just that damn good. It was like because basically one long movie, So I highly recommend it.
I'll say this: the first episode until you get to the end is a little hard to get through.
But the way it ends, I had to watch the second episode.
Yeah. But by the end, by episode 2, I was hooked.
I loved how he was an unreliable narrator, and you're questioning, like, as the viewer, am I seeing what really happened or what only thinks he happened? It was really freaking good, man. It was really good. Yeah.
And it's free on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime. Yeah, Mom, Terminal List. Check it out, Amazon Prime. So we just hit the 2-hour mark. Is there anything else you got? Like, should we wrap up and tell everybody?
Well, I think we all agree that Love and Thunder was good.
Yeah, sounded like it. Yeah,
the MCU is still going strong. You guys looking forward to She-Hulk?
No,
I am, only because of Tatiana Maslany. I'm a big fan of hers from Orphan Black. I think she's a phenomenal actress.
See, I've never seen Orphan Black.
But the trailers for She-Hulk have not been giving me a great deal of confidence. So I'm waiting and seeing. I'm cautiously pessimistic. But I do love the actress they cast as She-Hulk.
I wasn't actually going to plan on watching it, but then Michael said that's what we're doing next.
Yeah, we figure we're going to do that since that'll be right about the time the Orville wraps up. She-Hulk will be coming out.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because hopefully I'm looking forward to it because I was a fan of She-Hulk in the 70s and 80s. When she was fourth wall breaking and
who was the guy who wrote that? It was Brian.
Well, John Byrne did her during the Fantastic Four run. She was a lot of fun.
There's this one comic book writer, I forget his name, but he kind of like redefined She-Hulk in the early 90s, and I
didn't read her during the 90s.
He's done a lot of like really interesting comic books that
and Alexander is here with a super chat. Yeah, I'll let you read this one, Mr. Kadish, because you're gonna love it.
All right. Asian Muslim wife born in the USSR is the best choice.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah, that's why I figure I'd let you read it, because it's
It's a deep cut.
that's a deep cut. Yeah, well, Alexander is a crazy, crazy man. He comes in here on a regular basis.
Well,
But
apparently he's
welcome, Alex.
Canadian, so
Yeah. So I'm
Well,
trying to
not
think.
exactly. He is.
Dan
If
Slott and
you call him Canadian, he'll be offended. He is from Quebec, not Canada.
well, he dropped a Canadian $2.
Right, because Quebec is north of the United States, but he will argue with you that Quebec is not Canada. It is Quebec.
There's been a big independence movement in Quebec since the
Right,
90s.
because Quebec never signed the Canadian Charter. So even though Quebec is technically Canada, Quebec considers itself Quebec, not
Yeah,
Canada.
but they keep doing what the Canadian government tells them.
Just go with it. Just say it's Quebec.
They keep doing what the Canadian
just
government
say
tells
it's
them.
it's
Quebec.
Canada. It's Canada.
It's just Quebec.
So
They voted for Trudeau.
And that's true. Well, and the nice thing, yes, Lower Decks will be back soon as well.
Yeah,
So
we got
Lower-
about 3 weeks for that. I mean, I'm down to talk that more so than she.
But I assume we'll be talking about Lower Decks on Saturdays too, right?
Well, no, they're doing they're doing something different on Saturdays. Yeah.
We stopped covering Lower Decks after the first season because
because you guys
it was triggering to Vader.
Communists.
No, Vader just got triggered by it, and so like he didn't want to.
Vader got triggered by Lower Decks.
Yeah, I liked Lower Decks, but
yeah, I love Lower
Vader
Decks.
didn't like it.
Kid from the boys. I always get his name wrong.
Jack Quaid.
Yeah, he's hilarious in it. And I follow.
You should quit the boys and get on a real show.
The boys is
Boys
good.
is great. What are you talking about?
Boys. Well, he's so you gotta know your audience, man. That's why there's no cussing here. He does a Sunday morning sermon show. He's like boys does not exactly fit his.
I apologize for my potty mouth. I was unaware of the anti-cussing rule.
It's not an anti-cussing rule. I just try to keep it to PG-13.
So by very definition, it's anti-cussing. So
is Alex, when we first started the podcast, he was very adamant. He's like, I want this show to be family friendly. We have to not cuss. And
and now you guys like get drunk every week. And
when he realized that he couldn't keep Jude and Vader from cussing, he tried to bleep out the curse words, but he was so bad at it that he'd only bleep out some of them and others would get through. And we were like, dude, just make your life easy. Don't worry about it. And he's like, but my family listens to this. And it's just like, well,
embrace it.
Just let them know that your friends are a bunch of foul-mouthed people.
Is that when he started saying the thing at the beginning with
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We wanted to give people a warning about the language up front. So,
and that's smart to do. Like, I'll probably steal that from you guys if I ever do my own show. But I actually have a couple because Cece just got here. So at the very least, I got to wrap up. But I got some exciting stuff in the works. I'm almost finished launching, or I'm about to launch. I'm almost finished with the website for Hollywood producer, which B-movie producer, Josh Becker, and I'm really happy with how it's turning out. And he's done. If for those of you who don't know who he is, he's done a lot of work with Bruce Campbell. He directed a lot of episodes of Xena. He, Warrior Princess. He did Running Time with Bruce Campbell. He's like done a bunch of like Bruce Campbell B movies. You know what I mean, like the Alien Apocalypse, things like that. So that's been a lot of fun.
There's no such thing as a Bruce Campbell A movie, by the way.
Yeah, but in fact, hey, one of the movies, I think it's Alien Apocalypse, it was the #1 show on Sci-Fi, the original, the #1 Sci-Fi. Anyway, as far as so that's been fun. Once that launches out, I'll be shooting that out to everybody. Also, coming soon to Pop Culture Minefield on Sundays, I finally get a wrestling show. So for those of you who've been hitting me up to start my own channel, I knew my laziness would pay off because I just don't want to have to deal with the graphics and crap.
So I'm going to need your advice, Mr. Kadish.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, your team, since I know you guys like to watch a lot of B movies and stuff, is that I'm looking.
We don't like to, but we do.
Well, if you don't like to, why do you?
Because we like to torture our other co-hosts, so we try to pick stuff that we know our other co-hosts wouldn't like.
Okay. Well, you see, that's kind of what I do. I watch movies to torture my friend
Matthew?
Matthew. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm looking for good, bad movies to watch with him. But you see, I like movies that are really, really bad, but that the director thinks are really good. So
Dude, I
movies,
could even help with that, but all you
yeah.
got to do is go to
So
their
like,
damn channel.
yeah, but like a movie like, for example, Samurai Cop, right? Where
Which
is
they
a
reviewed a couple years ago, by the
yeah,
way.
yeah. Samurai Cop is a great one. All the Neil Breen films, right? They're a great example because Neil Breen thinks he makes epic films. I cannot wait. You know, Neil Breen's sixth movie is in production now. I can't wait until it's done. And
Well, I have to, I'll be right back then because I thought we were going to wrap up, but I have got to take care of this thing real quick for her. So I'll be
okay,
right back. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
he's gonna go have a quickie with Cece.
He's got to go shave more hair of his hair off. Somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why he shaved his head.
Wait a minute. Okay, I was
Punishment
getting
from
up.
Cece.
I heard that. No, this punished her. No, she was crying. She was literally crying because, and I've had a couple of people like, why on earth would you cut off your hair? You know, like I'd kill for that. And I'm like, dude, it's hot. You know, I finally just got tired of it.
Sure.
It is so damn.
You see, I can't cut my hair off. I got the Christopher Pike going here. So
yeah, you do, right? But anyway, so I got to get back to what I was doing. But like, you know, I'm you know, don't be a hater. I look good bald too.
Yeah. Too bad he's bald on both the top and the bottom. But you know, anyway,
I go shave his legs.
Yeah. Well, he has to shave his legs for his drag show. But anyway, so I'm just looking for movies that where they're really laughably bad, but the people making the movie thought they were making something great. You know.
Yeah. Pretty much any Paul W.S. Anderson movie falls under that category.
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah. So Stephen Sommers as well, even though like he has made some decent movies, but one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies is a movie called Deep Rising. It's a terrible movie, but it's a lot of fun. There's this one guy, he was a former male model, I forget his name, but he directed two movies that were so terribly self-indulgent.
Male model directing movies, that sounds like a winner.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name because like his second movie was so like his first movie kind of made a big splash in the indie world, and then his second movie was so bad that it basically ended his career as a director. Let's see. You spell Chloe Salvini. Here we go. Okay. I know she was in the second movie. And they had like this weird sex scene that I was at the Cannes Film Festival when it premiered. And this movie made everyone watching it uncomfortable. Okay, here it is. It's called The Brown Bunny.
The Brown Bunny. Huh?
Yeah, and the director's name is Vincent Gallo, one of the most pretentious guys you'll ever see on screen. 2003. Yes.
Okay.
And it's not rated because it never got a theatrical release, I believe. But this is one of those like incredibly self-indulgent. I wouldn't call it a passion project. It's a vanity project.
Professional motorcycle racer Bud Clay heads from New Hampshire to California to race again. Along the way, he meets various needy women who provide him with the cure to his own loneliness, but only certain women from his past will truly satisfy him.
Yeah, I think the Brown Bunny is the name of his motorcycle or something like that. But basically, this movie, when it premiered at Cannes, they were like, nothing happens in this film. Nothing. It's like an hour and a half of just like Vincent Gallo having sex with women and riding on his motorcycle.
Well, that might be a bit much. I don't know if I want to see something that boils down to softcore porn.
I've never seen this movie, so I can't attest to that. But
Yeah.
this is one of those films where like the director is completely convinced he's a genius, and this is his masterpiece. So
Yeah, Gorilla would probably like that one.
So Paul W.S. Anderson, Stephen Sommers.
I know I've seen a couple of Paul W.S. Anderson films.
Yeah, try watching Monster Hunter. I think that's his latest one. That one, it's a bad one. Trying to think of who else.
I mean, Paul W.S. Anderson.
You ever watch?
Made,
I mean, he's a friend.
Some successful films. He's made like the Resident Evil films.
All of his films are financially successful, but like they're not good. I'm friends with Lynn Kabasinski, so like I don't want to say he's a guy who's full of himself. But have you ever seen any of Lynn Kabasinski's films?
Mm-mm. If you're friends with him, hey, we could get him on the show.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'd love to come on. But I've interviewed him a couple times on our channel, and he just released his latest movie called Pact of Vengeance. But he's well known for making like really bad, like B-level movies, Swamp Zombies, Curse of the Wolf.
But does he take his movies seriously?
He does. Yes.
See, that's what I'm looking for. Someone who takes the movies seriously, even if they're bad.
Yeah, he takes all of his movies very seriously.
How do you spell his name? Kabazinski,
I believe. Lynn Kabasinski. And
Linn?
Len.
Len. Okay.
Short for Leonard, I believe.
There you go. Movie director.
Yeah. So like he stars in all of his films. He's also like a martial
that's a
artist.
good sign. If he stars in his own films, that's usually a good sign.
Yes. He acts in all of his own films. He's a martial artist. He does all the fight choreography for his own
films.
Oh,
martial artist too? Oh, I like that. Where can you get his movies?
So most of them are on Tubi, I believe.
Okay, good. That's a good source.
There's quite a few on Amazon Prime. Okay. If you sign up for his Patreon, which is only like $2 a month, you get all of his movies through that as well, including his latest one. Pact of Vengeance was actually like, compared to his other films, was actually like very good.
That sounds like a steal.
Yeah, it is. And it helps support him. His movies, like the budgets for his movies are less than $5,000 each.
Okay, I missed this dude's name. What's this guy's name?
Lynn Kabasinski. I've interviewed him on the podcast a couple times.
How do you spell like Lyn or Len?
Len. His first name is.
So his first movie that he was in was Zombiegeddon.
What's his last name now?
Kabasinski. Kabaz.
Looks like his directorial debut was Swamp Zombies.
Yeah, so like the first zombie film that he had like a bit part in, that was the thing that gave him the idea that maybe he could make a movie as well. And so right after he did that with his friend,
that was Zombiegeddon.
Zombiegeddon. He went out and did Swamp Zombies, which was his first movie.
Is this the Australian guy, or is it? Am I thinking of someone else? Okay.
No, you're thinking of someone else. Lynn is a well-known quote unquote bad filmmaker. And he was featured on Red Letter Media a couple times.
Oh, he's a 10-time Pennsylvania karate state champion. It's a bad mofo. 6-time professional karate commission region.
Lynn is a super cool guy. I helped finance his last film.
Now I assume he knows his movies are bad, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. But the thing about Lynn is like he doesn't care.
He just likes making movies.
Yes, he just likes making movies. He's like, I don't care if you think it's bad or good or whatever. I just want to always be improving. I just always want to be making the type of movies I want to watch. And
that's the important thing.
To his credit, he has been getting better the more movies he's been making. Like he's got like quite an impressive filmography.
Right. But he's directed 17 films.
Yeah, but if you go back to his older films like Curse of the Wolf, Fist of the Vampire, Swamp Zombies, those are the true. So
it is literally. He was not kidding. It's literally $2 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I may support him on Patreon, and then
hey man, like if you ever want to like go over any of these, like why not?
Oh, me and Jude have watched almost all of his movies.
Yeah. Well, when's Matt coming back, Mike? Like, how much time have we got to kill for you? For your
Well, we're doing because
yeah,
we're
hell,
currently,
I can afford $2.
yeah, we're currently just doing the we're doing the show just once a month until he gets done with this big project. My friend Matthew, that we do the movie night with, he's doing a huge project with his work that's probably going to take him through the summer. And so we're just doing the movie night once a month until he's done with this big project, and then we're going back to every week.
So, Michael,
But
you might be interested to know that Lynn has not only almost worked with Matt Hannon, who's Samurai Cop. Like he tried to get Matt Hannon into Pact of Vengeance, but he's been also trying very hard to get Neil Breen to agree to act in one of his films.
Oh man, that would be awesome to get Neil Breen in there. But Neil Breen, well, to get Neil Breen to act is kind of an overstatement.
I said to be in one of his films.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a little kind of nerdy, and I missed the astronomy guy you guys had on Alex's show quite a few times.
Dr. Target.
Yeah. So I bet he's talking about this, but I'm sure you guys have heard of the pictures of the Carina Nebula, and so anyways, a friend of mine sent me this to print. But look who's taking a nap on the nebula there.
It's Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I'm a big Calvin and Hobbes guy, so they were like, I thought it was cool. I immediately saw that. I was like, oh my god. Anywho,
yeah, but Michael, you'd probably like some of Lynn's earlier stuff. It's really rough.
Oh, I'd probably like all of his stuff, I think.
Yeah.
So Pact of Vengeance is this year.
Yeah. He just released it a few weeks ago.
Oh, hey, good night, Mom. Looks like Mom's heading out. I know I've been trying to wrap it up. I'll call you tomorrow.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to keep dragging this out, but no.
If I were you, I would watch at least Swamp Zombies and Curse of the Wolf. Both of those are like peak Kabazinski. So.
Hell yeah, man.
But the Brown Bunny, that would probably be a rough watch for you.
Yeah, that sounds like that's a weird movie from the sound of it.
Yeah.
But
that's a guy, Vincent Gallo, who takes himself very seriously.
Very cool.
So then sorry, go ahead.
No. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to finish like plugging my crap because like I started and we ended up talking more.
Yeah. But before Danny finishes up, Michael, there's a great YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with these guys. It's called the Perfect Turd Podcast.
Perfect Turd.
Yeah. And
sounds like
these guys, all they do is they talk about really bad B movies from current times. Not like old school, like drive-in theater.
I keep telling you should do those mock, but like I keep when you guys ask in the Discord and the club members chat, I keep trying to suggest the mockbusters. You know, like did you know that Sean Young was in a Dune movie that was like a mockbuster for when the Denis Villeneuve Dune came out at the same time, straight to like, you know,
well,
DVD.
she was in the original Lynch Dune.
Yeah. She's playing a totally different character.
But the Perfect Turd Podcast guys, I find most of my enjoyable bad movies through the stuff they review. So I would recommend checking them out.
Yeah, I'm looking at their playlist right now. Wow. Some of these movies sound really, really bad.
Yeah.
From Dust Till Bong. Attack of the 50-Foot Cam Girl.
And these are kids. I'm just old. Never mind. Sorry.
Slutty the Clown.
Slutty the Clown, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Call Girl Cthulhu. Okay. These are awesome. So I assume you just start looking through them to try and find the good ones out of the.
I just watch all their episodes because it's a fun podcast to listen to.
Yeah.
But if you really want to do the Citizen Kane of WTF crazy movies.
Yes.
There's this one movie, and I only watched it because they had Danny Trejo on the cover. It's called Bullets of Justice.
Hmm.
And it is bonkers. Absolute bonkers. I highly recommend it.
Bullets of Justice from 2019, it says.
Yes.
You can watch it for free on Tubi right now.
I think it's also on Amazon Prime, if I'm not
Bullets
mistaken.
of during the third. Oh God! I'll do my. During the Third World War, the American government initiates a secret project codenamed Army Bacon, in order to create super soldiers by inbreeding human beings with pigs. That sounds like, yeah.
Dude, this movie's got it's got time travel, it's got incest, it's got Nazis, it's got pig mutants.
All right.
It's got everything.
I'm gonna have
It's
to
got-
watch
it's-
this.
it's-
We
it's got-
don't even have to review it, bro. But you
It's
sold
got
me.
male models fighting each other in their underwear. It's got everything.
I mean,
Wow.
you're giving us a little bit of like more insight into your personal life than I think you mean to, but that's okay.
Yeah, this sounds like this is what Kadish fantasizes about is movies featuring Danny Trejo full frontal.
No,
That's
there's
not what
no
he
full
said.
frontal Danny Trejo in this.
Well, it
He
says
is
male
in-
full frontal nudity, male
Danny-
genitalia.
Danny Trejo does not get naked in this movie, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, you say.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah,
We all need some naked Trejo in our lives.
Wow, you
Wow.
are a weirdo, man. I just want to
So
put that out there.
A fun fact about this movie: it's a Russian film,
Mhm.
but all the actors do English, and some of the actors, because they're native Russian speakers, don't speak English, so they had to learn their lines phonetically. And so, like when you're watching them act, it's very obvious that like they're just like regurgitating memorized lines. They don't know what they mean.
Oh,
Right.
see,
kind of
really
like when you
funny.
see Americans in Italian films.
it is on Amazon, but you got to pay $4.99. I can watch it with commercials for free on Tubi, so I'm going to do that.
It used to be free on Amazon because
It's not.
So it's
anymore.
not a Prime Video. It's just
No.
okay.
Yeah, you can rent it.
It might have
for
been cycled out
$4.99.
of Prime, but
Yeah,
dude.
but
it
Tubi's
is-
got it for free. Like I can.
Yeah.
share the
Bullets
link
of
if you-
Justice is one of like the craziest movies I think I've ever seen in my life.
Here you go. I put it in the private chat for you, Mike.
That's okay. I'm putting it in my download queue of Play On right now.
Also, the main character of Bullets of Justice is also the writer and director of the film.
Of course.
Yeah. See, I'm
Why
going to
wouldn't it
pretend you
be?
didn't say that because I believe in supporting people. Not. Aren't you a Christian? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Are you illegally downloading pirated movies, sir?
No, I'm not. I
You
don't
should
doubt.
be ashamed.
I'm not using BitTorrent.
Oh, okay. I'm just messing with you anyway. I don't care. I just like messing with poking the bear when it comes to. And my mom's gone, so I can get all anti-religion now. I have to behave.
Wow,
when
really?
she's there.
So you don't mind getting anti-religion in front of me?
I'm just kidding, dude.
I
Come
see
on.
how you are.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I guess, but anyway.
Well, guys, I need to get going.
Yeah.
All
All right.
right.
So
Thank
we'll wrap
thank
it
you
up
so much
there.
for having me on.
Yeah, tell the people. I put your
what-
link in there.
So
about
what we
you,
learned
what they can
today is that we've got some weird movies coming up for movie night. We also agreed 2-1 that this episode of the Orville sucked. We unanimously agreed that Thor was good, and we agreed 2-1 that Kadesh needs some serious psychotherapy since he wants to see Danny Trejo naked.
I mean, that's
So-
all a matter of perspective. I mean, or he's a genius. You never know.
Okay, so
I lean towards genius.
I'm definitely not leaning towards genius. All right, so have a great night, everybody. Remember, you are the salt of the earth. Kadesh needs psychotherapy. Danny has no hair, and I am the salty trekker. And take care. And we are ending broadcast now.